Okay, this is a short video on how to add a quiz. There are tons of things I'm not going to cover in this because this is a basic intro to adding a quiz. I'm in a section of my course that I don't really use, this PD section down here, to demonstrate how to use the add a quiz feature. So I'm going to turn editing on. I'm going to add an activity or resource, and I'm going to go to activities. I see all these activities, and I'm going to do quiz. Now, if I've starred them previously, which I have, it'll be there as well. Those ones that you use all the time, you can go and just hit the little star button, and then it'll show up in your starred items. So when I go to add a quiz, it looks very much like everything else that we add to Moodle. Up here in the name is going to be what the student's going to see to click on. It's going to also be what shows up in my grade book. So I'm going to go ahead and hit chapter 11. Yeah, I'll say 11.1. We'll make this a short cycle, and I'm making up as I go what this is over. And we don't cover floppy drives, but I'll pretend that we are. If I wanted to add a description in here, whether what it covers or perhaps even a video on that, I can add instructional items here, which I frequently do. This is an example of one of mine in my class, what I use for short cycle assessments, 6.1. I have a video in there that covers what I'm going over in class, just in case the student missed class, or in case I'm not there, like what's going to happen this coming week for OETC. So they can watch the video there. It also says the quiz also covers the start of the chapter book, which is a hyperlink then that takes them to, I'm going to turn editing off so you can see it a little better, so you can see what this section is on chapter 1. So that the section 1 covers this and this and this and this, which are really different reading levels of the exact same material, just so you know, on this particular one. Making it very low for my beginning students and very high for my advanced students up here. So that's how I do it. I've got it with information there. So that's one of the things you might want to add. There is no requirement for a description. If there's a requirement, you see the asterisk there. So if I had information, if I had a video, if I had text or links that I want them to read beforehand, I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and go down to timing then. This is if I wanted to show up on the calendar. This is when it will open, and then will automatically show on the calendar so the students see that something is upcoming as well. I can also add a time limit if I want to add a time limit. When I go down here to grade, I can say, where is this going to fall in my grade book? I'm going to throw that up into your chapter 1 formative, and I'm going to say nothing on grade to pass. You can say how many attempts you want them to be able to use and what grade you're going to use. Most of my short cycle ones all are unlimited with the highest grade counting, but when I look at the statistics, I only look at the first attempt. Layout is standardized, but I can go into it. By standard, it means that every question is going to be its own page. And deferred feedback, meaning after they've finished it is when they find out how they did. And let's see, we don't use any of those things. The only last thing I would have here is when I say what the grade is, how many points it's worth. You notice that's not in here because in a quiz we put it in with the question. So if you're wondering where I put in how many points this is worth, that is it. That's all I have to do. I can hit save and display, and now I'm in the quiz. And now I have to add the questions to the quiz. If there's no question that automatically comes there, I am right here at this question spot on there, and that's where I can go. Basically, I'm in the same place where I can go and add questions. It says there's no questions added. I go to questions, and now I add the questions that I'm going to have. You can see this quiz is by default worth 10 points. I could make it worth 100 points if it's a test that they're taking at the end of the section. I can make it more or less. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 10 for now and say this is going to be a 10-point quiz. Now, I'm going to add questions, and do I want those questions shuffled when they take it? And I always say yes. I frequently say yes. because I don't want each student to get the same question at the same time. It's harder to cheat if I turn on shuffle. So I can add, and when I add, if I don't have questions in a question bank already, if I'm just starting out my first quiz, I'm going to have to click add a new question. If I already have questions in a question bank, either because I uploaded them from my documentation that came with my online textbook perhaps, or because I've built them or I'm taking over somebody else's class, I can choose them from the question bank. And if they're in the question bank, I can also do a random question, which I do not recommend doing right now. I only use that for my semester exam review, meaning that you don't even choose which question goes in there. It's going to just be from a category you choose. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new question. And these are all the question types that are available in a quiz. The ones that I'm going to concentrate on early to learn how to do quizzes is just multiple choice, true, false, and matching. And I use essays a lot. I don't use short answer and numerical. If it's something that they're going to put in a number or I want to actually grade it, although numerical, you can have it auto grade. I like to read it myself. The short answer ones are kind of tough. So I'm going to go ahead and start with multiple choice. I just hit add. And the first thing it says is what category does it belong in? Now, if you don't have any categories, you're not going to see this. Everything's just going to go in your class. I made the mistake when I first started doing quizzes of just adding them in my class, and then later on I realized I've got hundreds and hundreds of questions to try to figure out which ones go where. So I added categories in my course by chapter. I added chapter 1, you can see here, chapter 2. I don't have a chapter 11 down here, but I could add one if I wanted to. Or I can have it just go into this floppy drive quiz, but if I do that, I can't use it anywhere else in my class. So I never put things in the quiz, I always put them in the course. So I'm just going to go and add them to chapter 0 right now, although normally I would go to categories and I would make a category. I would just add a category up top. It says, what does it go under? It's going to go in the course. And what's the name of it? I name it chapter 11, and then I'd put all my questions in that category for that particular class. Okay, question name. Question name is what we see, not what students see. It's on our list of questions. So I always start them with the indicator that they're related to, so I can use this to pull data on indicators and see that I've covered all my indicators as well. So I'm pretending here. Oh boy, a lot of P's in there. And then I put down here in my text what the students will actually see in the question. So I'm going to put in here, why do we no longer use floppy drives? And I always also record it for my IEP 504 students, making it more universal design for learning. All you have to do is hit the record audio, and I go down here and I'm just going to read it. Why do we no longer use floppy drives? And then after I've recorded it, I just hit attach recording, and now they can click that and have that read to me while they're taking the test. And then I come down here, because it's multiple choice, one of them has to be worth 100%. The other ones don't have to be worth anything, although you can give partial credit, and you have to have at least 3 possibilities in your options. You can have way more. By default, it shows you 5, and I can add even more blanks. You can have a multiple choice question that has tons of blanks on there that you're making them go through and read through a ton of stuff. You see I'm up to 11 right there. You don't have to. You only have to do at least 3. It also, by default, shuffles the choices, so the students next to each other will see the questions in a different order, as well as the answers in a different order, which I always leave it that way. It, by default, says ABC, but you have a lot of other options on your choices if you wanted to change those. And then you just type in what the choice is if you wanted to read to them. You can also record the choices as well so that the students get both the question read to them if they have on headphones and hit the button, as well as the answers, which I do for any extended or longer one. If it's a single word, maybe not, but if it's a sentence in that choice, I definitely do that. So that's how we add questions. Most of them are fairly straightforward. I just want to show you when you're done, you can always come back and go to questions, and you can change the point values of each individual question. Once we add them in there, I give more weight. You can see the weight of these is 2 versus the true false is only weight of 1. And then the grade is going to be averaged out to a 10 point with between those 9 points that are available on there. After you've made a quiz, you can come and edit the questions at any time until a single person has taken it. As soon as someone has taken it, I can no longer, you can see here, I don't have the ability to add or delete questions. I can go and modify the question or fix the question by coming here to the gear, but I cannot delete the question. Once anyone's taken it, there's no way to modify the quiz itself. If I need to change this quiz, and I want to change, for instance, 6.1, the only way for me to do that is to go here and go duplicate. And now this new one has had no one take it, and all the restrictions and questions and everything are the same in the duplicated one. So if I want to change it, I do this duplication. You can see the copy now, and then I would delete this one. And I would change the name of this one to no longer say copy, and I can go in this one because no one's taken it, and I can go to questions, and now you see I can delete a question if I want to. I can change the weight. I could always do that even if somebody had taken it, but I couldn't. The add button wasn't there anymore, and the delete button wasn't there anymore. You cannot change a quiz once someone has taken it as far as adding or removing questions. I just wanted to point that out as well. That's a basic starter on Moodle quizzes. Please look at some of the other videos I've got because there's a lot more on the different question types later.